to shoulder, all for one. We keep holding each other, one for all, and no gender or faith, we are one. Everybody will get peace of mind. Shoulder to shoulder, all for one. We keep holding each other.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Benson Ogbe. I'm your host on the Plateau Interfaith Youth Debate. It is a youth-led initiative that is intellectually stimulating, nourishes oratory, and engenders peace on the Plateau. The message is clear that young people are showing that peaceful coexistence is possible on the Plateau. The topic for this debate is, our political space does not encourage young leaders to access public office. We have two teams going head to head. Team Onyx is proposing, and Team Ivory is opposing. We appreciate our judges, our studio audience, and viewers at home. Now is the time. Let's welcome the debaters.
Resolved, our political space does not encourage emerging young leaders to access public office. Mr. Moderator, panel of judges, accurate timekeeper, ladies and gentlemen, viewers at home, my co-debaters, my name is Helder Apollos, and I'm here to argue the case for the affirmative that our political space has not encouraged the participation of our youth and emerging leaders. To further us in this discourse, I would like to elucidate on some of the keywords of the subject of our proposition. Now, what is political space? Charles Brockett, 1991, summarized the idea of political space by saying it is the allies and support groups or the available meaningful access points in a political system. In a nutshell, an enabling platform for political participation. Now, what is a public office? This means to hold an elected or appointed office at the local, state, or the national level. And finally, who is a youth? Although there is no conventional definition as to who a youth is, the African Youth Charter defines it as an individual who is within the age group between 15 to 30 years of age. Is it any wonder that the National Youth Service Corps scheme gives an exemption letter to any individual upon graduation who is above the age of 30? Having said that, I would like to ask my co-debaters, has there been an enabling environment to include the participation of youth in our political system? I suggest not, for the following reasons. One, political constraints. Secondly, there is also the dominance of the ruling class in our political system. Now, the political constraints involved is the fact that our Constitution, first of all, actually presents a very disturbing constraint on the youth when it comes to their participation in politics. The 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Section 131B, states that for the age restriction of a presidential aspirant is 40, and for a gubernatorial aspirant it is 35. Ladies and gentlemen, this actually excludes the participation of youth based on our definition. Now, if we say that youths are the leaders of tomorrow, and today is the tomorrow we were talking about yesterday, this means that the youth have been excluded from political participation. And we suggest that our government should put in place a legislation that is going to institutionalize participation of the youth in all ramifications, just like the 35% affirmative action for the women. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Criticism defends us from the good that others have achieved. Ladies and gentlemen, the moderator, panel of impartial judges, the timekeeper, fellow debaters, my name is Mafeng. I am here strongly to oppose the motion which says our political space does not encourage young leaders to access public office. First of all, who is a youth? The National Youth Policy document defines a young person as a person from the age of 18 to the age of 35. a young person full of energy, a young person is seen in zeal to achieve what he desires in his heart to achieve. This nation has not in any way this nation has not in any way stopped the young person from achieving what he wants to achieve in this nation, because he has the right for freedom, the freedom of speech, the freedom of vote, and be voted for. Now, a good example of a young person whom has been in power for the first time, Nigeria has elected a wonderful president whom from the age of 32 was the most wonderful and the youngest president in the whole of Africa. Now, this nation has given opportunity for young people to actually achieve what they tend to achieve, what they desire to achieve, what they want to do. Now, this nation not in any way has stopped a young person to be in any public office. You have the right to do and undo. Now, again, I would like to say that when you have something, it is said that when you have something, the nation or the state will look for you. If you have something to offer to this nation, you have the full rights, the full energy, the full encouragement by this nation to actually do what you want to do. So by this motion, I stand to defend that our political space has given a lot of encouragement, a lot of opportunities for young people to achieve what they want to achieve in this nation. Thank you.
Our political space does not encourage emerging young leaders to access public office. Young persons are the largest demographic group of our population. But this fact has not been reflected in the decision-making level of our system. According to Article 11 and subsection 2 of African Youth Charter, it guarantees the participation of every young person to fully involve in all the activities of the affairs of the society. This is a body which Nigeria is also a member, but today is this provision implemented? According to the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights, it says that everybody, it said the will of the people shall be the basis of the authority of the government. But in a democratic society, election is a process through which a legitimate leader is elected. So I'm not saying that unless our electoral system is free of electoral frauds and malpractices, we cannot say it is free and fair enough to guarantee the right of young person who cannot favorably compete with those called adults who have both financial and other means to crumble the youth in the process of the election. The political situation that we are in today is what the former head of state and president.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Impartial panel of judges. I am just here to reaffirm what my colleague here just said. The Nigerian political system does accommodate for youth to access public office. There is no doubt he went down as one of the most creative young Nigerians to have ever emerged from the Ministry of Information and National Orientation. Chief Chukwuemeka Chikelu initiated something called the National Dialect Commission. That was a move to preserve the native and indigenous languages of Nigeria. But let me borrow these words from JFK when he said, "Let's not seek to fix the blame of the past, but let us accept our own responsibility for the future." It is much more easier to criticize than to appreciate. The Nigerian youth today has found it much more easier to blame the government and the democratic structure for all his woes. Now, if the fault lies completely with the government, where do you place institutions like Nigeria now is trying to initiate something that has never been done in Africa before, trying to separate the Ministry of Youth Development from the Ministry of Sports. Now, there is another thing also called the National Youth Assembly. These are all avenues that have been made for the Nigerian youth to lay out his complaint and express his grievances, if any, against the government. Now coming back, I would like to challenge my co-debaters here. Tell me if you know of any Nigerian political youth or any youth in this country that has made a positive impression of himself right from the society that has not been recognized. Impression is something that, or political space is not something that you are just given. You make an impression of yourself right from the grassroots, and the cultural space will come begging for you. Somebody went down, or during the recent National Honors Award, somebody was given the Order of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, OFR. What did he do? He was a common banker that returned an excess of over 30 million naira to his bank or to the customer who paid that money. Now, ask yourself, if this individual were to go back to society and ask for political office, wouldn't he be voted? Now, somebody again, just 27 years old.
Panel of judges, Mr. Moderator, co-debaters, audience, thank you once again. My co-debaters conveniently try to elude the fact that there are several issues that actually influence the political space when it comes to youth participation in the electoral process. When a distinguished and enabled youth leader is trying to vie for office, how can he contend with what we have as the dominant ruling party who have come time and time again to dominate in the politics, as underscored by Roberto Michel's iron law of oligarchy, which actually postulates that there's an inevitable tendency for a group of people to rise and distinguish themselves, and both economically and politically, and maintain a dominance on the society. These people, we have seen a classical case in the Fourth Republic in the third term, in infamous third term bid. And can you also avoid the economic ramifications of vying for political office when the youth is...
Thank you very much, and I'll respond to that effectively. Nick Zano once said, passion unattended is a flame that leads to its own destruction. Now, we are in a society, and the youth wants to blame everybody, or wants to blame the government for its problem. We have heard about cases where churches, different religious groups, have contributed money to lead people into political office. Where do you place that fact? We're not denying the fact that Nigeria, yes, is troubled by different problems. The people are poor. But I mean, if you have somebody that you think can ease your pain, it is your responsibility now to make sure that that person gets to where you want him to be. Now, it is a fact that today when you go to Abuja, you see these so-called youths parading around themselves around the offices of senators. They are not there to demand for the water the senator president promised. They are not there to demand for the light. But instead, they are there to demand for the little stipends that the senators promised to give them once they are elected into office. And we can't deny the fact that youths have been the vanguard of violence in Nigeria. Where do you place all these facts? Thank you very much.
Wow, that was wonderful. It's now time for our audience to vote as we take the judges' comments.
Well done, both of you. I can't take away the fact that it was actually a very robust intellectual engagement. But you both had two things in common for both Team Onyx and Team Ivory. You didn't manage time very well, and you know, from both ends too, we had some level of intellectual violence, which I think was very good.
Onyx, the first speaker, he gave a fact that was not correct. He talked about the African Youth Charter being from ages 15 to 30, and that's 18 to 35. That wasn't correct. So when you're giving facts, you should try to make sure that they're accurate.
For this first battle, the winner is the Ivory team. This has been engaging. It's a battle of words, oratory, charisma, and leadership. We now have two teams here again that are going for battle of words. The burial team that are proposing, and the Sapphire team opposing. Now let's welcome the debaters.
It is commonly said that young people are the leaders of tomorrow. Or better still, young children or children are the leaders of tomorrow. In the year between 1989 and 1990, the then former head of state in the person of General Ibrahim Badmosi Babangida, he visited a primary school, and while addressing the pupils, he stressed a point, and he said that young people are the leaders of tomorrow. And many years have passed by, and one of those pupils is now a distinguished and a graduate and a responsible personality. And many years have passed by along the line, and it's as if these same people, this same former head of state, is still vying for the post of public office in our society today. So is it that the tomorrow has not yet come? I affirm to this point that young people, as being the future leaders of tomorrow, for the past few decades, 4 decades, that Nigeria has become a republic on the 1st of October 1963, that the reality of this world has not been brought into a full context within these few points of mine. Resolved. Our political space does not encourage young emerging leaders to access public office. I am by name Victor Ubwede James. But to start with, I would like to define some key terms. The public space. The public space is a space within which the political system of a nation operates. We talk about the young leaders. We also talk about the public office. The public office are the positions that the people have occupied, people who have elected into positions occupy to offer what? Significant responsibility under discretion of the law. Now, from careful studies and observations, we notice that the political structure of our nation is built on 3 major components: money, influence, and power. Now, and power is backed up on the influence of people who have attained influential heights, either politically or financially. So you see, this has posed a strong barrier to young emerging leaders who wants to come out to contest for political positions, because this height has already been influenced politically and financially. Can a person said he wants to compete for a political space with a person that has become a national figure? Definitely no, because a person that has become a national figure has now affected the mindsets of the perspective of the public. Now, the public are interested in 2 things. The public are interested in the perspective that those that have attained heights financially and those that have attained that politically have now influenced their perspectives. And because of the influence of this perspective, now the young people now who have...
Speaking the truth during moments of universal deceit is an act of a revolution. These were not my words, but the words of the universally acclaimed novelist George Orwell. The truth still remains that our political office does provide encouragement for emerging young leaders. Distinguished panel of judges, co-debaters, and esteemed viewers, my name is Ahmed Awal Saliu. I'm here to oppose the motion which says our political space does not encourage emerging young leaders to access public office. Firstly, since Nigeria is the most religious country on earth, let me start from the basis of religion. The 2 greatest religions we have in Nigeria are Christianity and Islam, and under whose influence the people of Nigeria, Nigerians per se, derive their pleasure and sense of belonging and coexistence. These 2 bodies are very well coordinated by the Khan and the JNI. The Khan and the JNI, to a certain extent, owe this responsibility to their youth arms. In other words, to a large extent, the youth carry the day. Therefore, in view of this fact, the federal government now created what is called the National Intelligence Council, where opportunities are aimed at giving the emerging young leaders responsibilities so that they can also play some roles in the scheme of affairs of the Federation. That's one. How very grateful of the political space. Number 2, further, being education the bedrock of civilization and perhaps meaningful development, I need you to put on your thinking caps and imagine a primary school without social studies, junior secondary school without social studies, or the senior secondary school without a subject of government, or even the higher institutions without civic education. mere provision of this by the federal government and indeed the political class is only aimed at, empowering the young leaders of tomorrow towards knowing their rights, their responsibilities, and even the privileges they are abound in the Constitution and perhaps all other parts of the well-being. No wonder we have the vibrancy of the National Assembly. You imagine the House of Reps and perhaps the Federal House of Reps and even the state's houses of assembly, how vibrant they are. Kudos to the Nigerian political space for providing them with those space. Gentlemen and ladies, unless and until the lions have their own historians, the books shall only continue to reckon with the legendary of the hunters. Come on, is it that the space is not provided for, or perhaps the young leaders are not utilizing those spaces? Perhaps it's a food for thought for all of us to agree that indeed our political space does encourage emerging young leaders to access public office. Thank you.
Panel of judges, co-debaters, moderators, my fellow colleagues here, and our viewers at home. I am Adewoleto Ishe. I am here proposing the motions which says that our political space does not allow for young emerging leaders to take part in our politics. Let me first try and dramatize how they form Nigerian political parties as we have it here in Nigeria. The parties that are ruling Nigeria as at now is PDP. When they are forming that party in 1998, it was formed by the same old khaki soldiers and old politicians. Let me give you an example. PDP was formed in conjunction with Obasanjo, Babangida, Atiku, and some other people like Ekweme and some other people. Check on them; they are past 60s, and by the charters of by the United States Charter, by the United Nations Charter, the youth stop at the age of 30. If this is how they arrange this, how do you expect somebody that is very young to come among them and say, I want to fight for the presidency or I want to fight for the senatorial seats? No. Courtesy demands that when you are in company of elders, you have at least allowed the pecking order to take place. What is that pecking order? The elder go first. And let me categorically say this, that in each political party in Nigeria, yes, we have youth among them, but the youth are only used as political talk. And electioneering engineers, they are the ones that do the rigging. That's only what they make them for. Therefore, they are not taking part in it. Another one is that we have political families in this our Nigeria. In Kwara State, we have the Saraki family. You do not belong to that family, you can't take anything. Here in Plateau State, we have the Solomon Law. In Oyo State, we have the Adedugu family. If you do not belong, even if you are young, you have the certificates, you have everything that it takes. You can never commit except they anoint you and they adopt you as a political godson, which means that
panel of impartial judges, accurate timekeeper, co-debater, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good day. I am, with profound humility, Paul Sani Zaruma. I'm here to oppose the motion that says the Nigerian political space does not create youth opportunity for the youth. With this, let's look at it. Who is a youth first? A youth, according to Longman Dictionary of Contemporary English, 3rd edition, that a youth is somebody who is in the period within the ages of a child and the period of adulthood within. So from this development, you agree with me that with this following point of mine, that Nigerian political atmosphere did provide opportunity for the youth. First, let's look at the Constitution, which is the grand norm of this country. Section 177 subsection B and section 131 subsection B and section 65 subsection 1AB of the 1999 Constitution has amended, provided that a person cannot become the president of Nigeria except he is 40 years and above, and also that a person cannot be a member of House of Senate except he is 35 years and above, and a person cannot be a governor of Nigeria except he is 35 years and above, and a person cannot be a member of House of Reps except he is 30 years and above. From this, you will look at it that the youth are captured. There is an opportunity for the youth. So, if you look at it, before it was higher, but presently the age has been reduced with the present amendment to capture the youth. So the youth has been provided with enough space to harness the potential they have. Point number 2, recently it is on news that a military and police force of Nigeria did recruited young people, even immigration service, etc. What we have is they capture youth from the ages 18 to 27. Who are the people
Thank you so much, the panel of judges, moderators, and fellow people at home. I think Zaruma have just shot himself at the ankle by saying that the National Youth Service Corps and then that Nigerian youth are being allowed to take part in politics of Nigeria, when he himself said that 40 years is for presidency, minimum of 40 years, and 35 years is the minimum for senatorial seats and the governorship. And National Youth Service Corps says maximum of 30 years, which means that at least even if you are above 30, you are not more youth. National Youth Service Corps. And this very debate that we are doing, the advertorial of it says that if you are 30 years above, don't come. You are not a youth. That's it. Right. And to another point that he has just raised, he said in schools, they teach us social studies, they teach us government. Teach me something that does not mean that you have let me apply it. Whether I know government, I know it theoretically. You don't let me practice. You are not allowing me to do it. That's it. Thank you so much, everybody.
Well, by way of rebuttal, he just said, the first speaker said that Ibrahim Babangida is still there. Nigerian population is over 100 and something million, and 70% of it is the youth. And democracy power belongs to the people. So we decide whether to vote Babangida or not. It is our responsibility to wake up, to kick out those leaders. He talks about, the second speaker talk about godfatherism. You can decide to say, okay, goodbye to godfather. Who will say goodbye to godfatherism? We the youth, we have the responsibility to wake up and not to sit down and be blaming the system. You are not a failure yet until you start blaming somebody. Thank you.
This has really been engaging, and I believe with you that you are enjoying yourself. Please, I want to encourage the audience to begin to vote now. You are going to vote for either the burial team or the sapphire team.
For the burial team, I think the first speaker actually becomes unsettled, and each time the bells ring. So I think you have to take note of that. While you are speaking, of course, the bell will always ring. So you have to take note of that. I think you looked very, very unsettled at some points while you're speaking. And I think the second speaker also helped your cause for your team. So I think you also have to work together to really improve on your points when you are talking, because you actually wasted so much time.
And for the first speaker in the Sapphire team, you also did well, but as she said, the use of your paper didn't show much preparation on your part, and it didn't speak well of your preparation, but your presentation was good.
Ladies and gentlemen, viewers at home, the winner for this second battle is the burial team.
Shoulder to shoulder, all for one, we keep holding each other. One for all, and no gender or faith, we are one. Everybody will get peace of mind. Shoulder to shoulder, all for one, we keep holding each other. One for all.